Chair. So I'll call this meeting to order. And the first agenda item is to adopt the agenda. Is there any additions?
I have a question on the agenda. I'm looking at item 11.3, discussion of possible action on facilities assessment. We're going to probably discuss some of the items that we want to prioritize for our needs. But before that, we want to discuss possible action on a bus barn. My suggestion is I'd like to have the discussion of the facilities before we discuss the bus barn. To me, it seems more logical, if anyone wants to chime
We
in.
can move 11.3 to 11.01. Just move that item over to the very first item on the new agenda.
Above 10, right before 10.0.
Right, okay.
It'd be
Yeah,
right
right.
after, between, it would be 9.0A.
Right. Or 10.001 or whatever.
You need a motion on that?
Well, when we make the motion to adopt the agenda, we would move it to...
I would move that we do what I just said.
Right.
Second what it is.
Okay, we have a motion by Lou and a second by Joanne to adopt the agenda with the modification of moving 11.3 up to ahead of 10.0. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries 6-0. 3.0 is approve the minutes of the January 21 and January 28 meetings.
I move that we accept votes as submitted.
Okay, motion by Olivia. Second by Roger. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries 6-0. 4.0, consideration of bills and warrants. That's pages 9 through 35. Hope we've all had a chance to look at them. If there's any questions, now would be a good time to raise them. If not, I'd accept a motion to approve. So moved. Motion by David to approve.
Second.
Second by Joanne. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries 6-0. 5.0 is hearing request, suggestion from the citizens. I see none present, so we'll move forward. Special reports from our two ladies with communities and schools. You're up, please.
Welcome. So we sent out some data a couple of months ago, and so we were asked to come and go over that and answer any questions that you guys might have about the program, communities, and schools. Is there anything specific that you guys want me to start off with? Do you want me to just
No,
run
just
over it?
go ahead.
Go over the data? Okay. Okay, so the data that we sent out is the ripple effect. It is the data for the 2018-2019 school year. So for that school year, we had 89% of our seniors graduate. 100% of our students stayed in school, so nobody dropped out of school, and 98% of our students moved on to the next grade. With the goals that we set for our students in a Tier 3 support, we meet with our students one-on-one for so many times a month. And so we set a goal for each of those students. We meet with them, we do a student assessment, and then we work towards that goal when we meet with them every single month. We work towards that goal. We do progress monitoring all throughout the school year. So for that, last year we had 67% of them made progress towards their attendance goals, and 80% of them made academic and coursework improvement. And that was specific to their goal. We engaged 81 community partners that provided support services for our students. We brought in $797 through in-kind donations, and we also brought in 49 community volunteers that donated 222 hours, which CIS values at $2,148. For the students that CIS provided support services for, that was 339 students. The breakdown of that is 68% of those students were on free or reduced lunches. 12 of those students were Black, 12% were Hispanic or Latino, 61% white, 11% multiracial, 2% American Indian, and 2% Asian. Does anybody have any questions about that?
How do you get all your support? You said do you guys call and
Yeah, so we have different tiers of supports that we provide for our students. A tier 1 support is something that we provide to the entire student body. Those can be things like the basic needs that we offer. I have a clothing closet in my room, and that also includes prom wear. I've had kids come in and get stuff for the past homecoming dance. This past weekend, we have a food pantry that students can come in and fill up a bag. They can either take it with them then, or they come in, fill it up, and I put it at the front office, and they can grab it on their way out the door. There's a snack drawer. They can come in at any time and grab a snack. We also have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches available for them to make. And then we have school supplies that our Labette emergency assistant donates at the beginning of the year, and they're able to come in and get those supplies throughout the school year. And then we also have hygiene supplies, and those are available to all students. Other tier 1 supports that we have done in the past, we've brought in some speakers. Last year we did a suicide prevention and awareness speaker. Her name was Jennifer Levinson. She came in from the organization Speak Up. This year we did a bullying, it was an online rally. And then the two that I have coming up that are just fresh on my mind are Motivation Monday. So about 2 weeks before our quarter ends, I bring in a speaker to speak during biking time, which is the last 30 minutes of the day. And they're a community member, and they come in and just provide a little bit of extra motivation, whatever that looks like for them. I had Jessica Rush come in last time. She told a little bit of her story, how she became a business owner, and she's still working towards her goals in our community. And then I also had Coach Cartwright come in, and he did a really good Motivation Monday, the first Monday that we had it in the gym. And then a week after Motivation Monday is our event called Save Your Grades. The students can come in from 3:30 to 5:30 into the library, and we provide dinner for them. And then we also have teachers who volunteer their time after school, and they stay and help them complete any work that they can, and their teachers are willing to let them make up before that quarter ends, so they can try to get those grades where they need to be before the quarter ends. And then we have our tier 2 supports. Those are what we do more typically in a small group setting. Those can look like college visits, job tours, things like that. We are really fortunate. We have great school counselors, and they do some really good things. They take care of most of the college visits and the job tours and the internships and things like that. So the big one that I've been working on is called Hangin' with Humphrey. I now have a therapy dog that is close to becoming certified. And so when I'm working with students towards their certain goals, then Humphrey will be just sort of an incentive for them. So if they have an attendance goal, there's one gentleman I'm thinking of in particular, he's out in the hallways a lot. He doesn't make it to class on time a lot. So we can just say, hey, so-and-so, if you can make it to class on time for 3 days in a row, then during your Viking time on such and such day, you'll be able to come in and hang out with Humphrey for a little bit during that time. And this particular kid happens to love Humphrey and loves his dogs at home as well. So, so far it's been a pretty good incentive. It's been really fun to watch the kids kind of take on a different role with Humphrey. And then our tier 3 supports are the supports that we provide one-on-one with our students. So they are the students that I have on my caseload. Right now I have 65 on my caseload. It looks like I had 66 last year. For each of those, like I said, we do the individual assessment, and then we set the goal for them. So if they have an academic goal, then that can look like grade checks throughout the month. I have one that has really struggled with some organizations. He can never find anything in his bag, and when he first brought me his bag, it was just overflowing. He opened it, it was just crumpled papers overflowing. So we sat down and we worked on an organization binder specifically for him. And ever since we did that, my first semester, he has come back every single semester, and he has asked me, can we do this binder? This really helps me. So just finding different creative ways to help them get through their classes and try to get their work done, really. The attendance goal I talked about a little bit. There's Hanging with Humphrey. I can do attendance checks. And then I've even gone so far as a kid that was tardy very, very consistently. I've gone and escorted him from class to class. If there's a kid that is sleeping in class, gone out, if it's nice weather, we go out and we walk the track. And then that's the time that I can build a relationship with that student and also kind of hopefully dig deeper and find out what's going on with them. And that can be under the behavior goals. So if they're a tier 3, receiving a tier 3 support, then they will receive an academic goal, an attendance goal, or a behavior goal for those children.
question. So, have you been able to involve any of the city commissioners or the county commissioners where kids can see how that government works, as well as, one of the goals that the parents came up with when they had 6 hours of meeting with the, in the schools, was to be more involved with the community. I mean, your community and schools, I understand that, but we really don't have the community members and leaders involved like I think we should, or like the parents think we should. So have you done any of that yet?
One big event that we do every year, and I've actually done it twice this year, is called Future Now Finance. That's where we get a lot of these volunteers. Like last year, it says we had 49 volunteers come in for the 222 hours. That's where I bring a lot of the community members into. I hadn't thought about the
get that.
commissioners.
I think that's great.
Okay.
That's not
So
what
what are
I'm
you
talking about.
looking for?
I'm talking about the ones, the legislators, the commissioners,
Right.
the county and the local
Right now, I
commissioners.
have not involved them. Is there something specific you're wanting them to come in and do?
Connect
trying
with
to
the
get 'em
schools,
connected.
connect with the schools.
Right. Are you wanting them to come in and talk about government? Are you wanting them to come in and work Future Now Finance? I just didn't know if you had a
I don't think they
specific.
really know what's going on in our school districts.
You just want them in the
So just
schools?
to talk with
Okay.
kids and
Yeah,
just to build
good
a
idea.
stronger relationship.
okay,
Because every time I go to city commission meeting, it's like they're kind of lost.
okay,
I'm not sure why.
sure. That's good.
Now, I've got some new commissioners on there. I think we can really do it with Leland Crooks on there and Berlin Bullender.
Okay,
And that would be
that would be good.
to make our city stronger, I believe.
Sure.
And then the same thing with Lubbock Community College, when we're trying to expand our vocational program, to actually have kids go to DuCommon, or even go to Pittsburgh, to Watco or Pittsco, or places like that.
We, it was last year, we went over to Pittsco. It took a group of students over
Good.
there. That was great. There is, who's the group at Pitt State?
Yeah.
They put on a big etiquette dinner, lunch for the students. They came in, or we went to Pitt State, and they went in and they learned the proper etiquette. They had a lunch where they actually sat down together and did that kind of thing. As far as the Lubbock Community College, we bring in some of their staff to work the Future Now Finance.
What about,
I think that's been
Fort Scott
mixed.
Community College has a vocational program through Pitt State behind Walmart on the north side, where they do plumbing and HVAC and masonry. Have the kids ever visited there yet?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Where's
just-
that at?
I'm not trying to put down your program. I think you do a great
No,
job.
I think it's great to know these
I was
things.
just brainstorming with some people, and they're throwing this stuff at me. I said, I didn't think about this, so I just
Yeah.
throwing it to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
On tier 3, you say student assessments.
Yes.
If I wanted to see a student assessment on a tier 3, where would I find that? And where would I find their goals that they set?
We have a database system that's through our national communities and schools, and we keep all of our data in that database system. So since we do an evidence-based program, every granola bar that walks out of Brooke's office is documented. So we keep track of all of that data, from the basic needs all the way through what kind of supports they receive towards their goal. So if they have an academic goal, how many times that student received a support, a mentor, a tutor, spending time in Brooke's classroom when they were struggling in class, if that's what the teacher recommended or whatever that looks like. We have that all documented, the time that was spent and the type of support, so we could pull that support plan and you could see the student goal, how they got to that goal, where they were struggling to receive that support, and then what supports were received for that student to have that goal. And we look at that at a minimum every month, and then we do a full progress report every quarter.
When you say we who?
Well, Brooke enters the data, and then myself as the director, and then our data analysts, we have 2 people who work with our data. They're reviewing that data for errors and things. We're looking for glitches. If there's something that we think this doesn't look right, or make sure the student's receiving the supports that they're needing. So our goal is to have a minimum 5 hours per student that's on caseload. So if we're in the middle of the year and that student's only gotten 30 minutes of support, then we're flagging that student and saying, hey, Brooke, you need to make this student a priority. We see that they're not getting the hours that we require. So what can we do to help that student? It doesn't have to be all Brooks time. It can be a brokered service with a community member. So we want our community members in the schools. We want our students in the community. It just kind of depends per school on how they want their students' community. Is there transportation available? What are the issues? And then if it's a volunteer that's going to be one-on-one with the student, we also vet all those volunteers through background checks and things like that.
So is this, I forgot, is it state funded or federal funded?
We have some federal funding and local funding and of course public funding.
And a grant, it's a grant?
We do have a grant.
That lasts until when?
We're actually renewing right now with Department of Children and Families.
For how long?
Typically, it's a 5-year stint. I'm not sure what the new RFP is with new legislators and new government in the state of Kansas. So that federal grant passes down through the state of Kansas.
So when will you know that, do you know?
We're in that cycle right now. I'm not sure when it will determine, but I know it's within the next
Because I
3
hate
to
to see
5.
programs come and go after you're doing a good job.
Yeah, we've had that grant from the Department of Children and Families since 2014. We've had a long-standing grant with them, so it's been in Kansas in particular. Our other states don't have that, but in Kansas, we have 27 schools under that funding.
Any other questions?
No.
No. Thank you very much. Very informative. Appreciate you coming in. Okay, we're ready for 7.0, the report from the superintendent of schools.
Okay, so I thought I'd give you a KESA update. And so KESA stands for the Kansas Education Systems Accreditation. And so you may have heard of QPA before, the quality, and so that's what this is now. It's the Kansas Education Systems Accreditation. It's a 5-year cycle. And so you start wherever you start, whatever year you start, and it takes, year 5 is the year that a group called the ARC, which, and I'm not sure what that stands for. Do you know what that stands for, Linda? I don't. It's a group that then looks through all your paperwork and determines whether or not you're accredited. So each of those years, there are visits, and there are specific, like, jobs. So the first year, the job was, we did these, now I've lost it. Where we determined, what were they? They were
Needs
like
assessments.
like needs assessment. That's exactly what it was. We did these needs assessments, and the entire district got in the cafeteria, and we looked through things, and we were like, yes, we do that. No, we don't do this, and at each of the buildings. So we determined the needs. Then the next year, year 2, was to kind of define what it was we were going to do. We were going to do relationships and responsive culture. And then each of the buildings was going to do that, and how it was going to look in each of those buildings was going to be different. So now we're on to year 3, and so now it's about the data. And so each year they have us fill out a big report, which I shared year 2 report with you last year. I didn't figure you wanted more copies, but I can get those to you in case you'd like to read them again. And so this year it's year 3, and it's all about the data. And so we're going to go, well, Eric Swanson and Kurt and I are going to go next Tuesday up to KSDE to go through some more KESA training. Because just as anything, a lot of times once the state gets started with something, as they build it, they think, oh, yeah, well, we should do it this way. Oh, maybe we should kind of tweak it that way. So, do you know what the ARC means? Did you look it up?
Accreditation Review Council.
Accreditation Review Council,
Which is a committee.
which is a committee. It is a group of folks. So,
Educational acronyms.
right, there are a lot of them. They're everywhere. It's just kind of like the Army. So those are things coming up with KESA. So some of our professional development coming up will be spent just in the buildings talking about what data we have to support what we've been doing for those things. Okay. So February 12th, we had our staff professional development, our preschool through 5th grade, and then our high school did color code training. They did that professional development at the high school, and that's where you take a little assessment, on how you were when you were a small child, and then it breaks it down into 4 different color codes and what those colors mean for behavior, attributes, strengths, weaknesses, limitations, those kinds of things. It's really good when you're working with teams to identify, okay, who are the real leaders, who are the peacemakers, who are the ones that want to have fun, those kinds of skills. Makes working together a little easier. They did that in the middle school. They did, they have They did a lot of housekeeping things as they're getting ready for a new administrator. They did a lot of brainstorming. They're working on attendance, tardies in particular. That's something that they're really working on at the middle school. And so they did some of that other professional development in regard to those things. So calendar committee, we've met twice, right?
Yes.
Yes. And so the last time we met, we pretty much agreed. Each of the groups came and we were able to come to a consensus with one of the calendars with a few tweaks made. And so Amanda sent that calendar back out today with all the tweaks made. So it's like it's version 1.75, something like that. And we've tentatively scheduled another meeting for next Thursday to get together as the calendar committee to look at that, to make sure we've got the right number of days, student days, the professional development days. And then we hope to have the calendar ready for board approval at the March meeting. Do you guys have anything about the calendar you want to add?
Okay, now how about the days we talked about on negotiation, if we had to renegotiate and make the Mondays the in-service days? How about those?
And so when Amanda and I went through and counted, because we had that calendar almost done, we could do that, but then we won't have enough student days. And so what we'll have to bring to the committee is to decide, then we're going to have to go in that week of May, instead of being done on May the 21st like we'd wanted to, where we, instead of having kids come on that Monday, kids would have to come back on that Monday or Tuesday in order to get the number of student contact days. Isn't that what we came up with? We counted. She counted over and over.
How much short were we? Do you remember?
One day.
One? Oh, just one?
8 hours.
8 hours.
And that was per negotiation, not per what's required.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that's going on. And so then March the 6th, that we'll have grades that day and professional development that day will be the day we work on the KISA. Things in each of the buildings and collect that data. The 9th and the 10th are elementary parent-teacher conferences. Our next board meeting will be March the 16th. March the 20th, school is not in session that Friday. And then the 23rd through the 27th, that is our spring recess.
Any questions for Lori? Okay, next item is 8.0, that's special education update. As we all know, the legislative luncheon was canceled because of goings on at the legislature. We did study the significant disproportionality results, and that is something that the co-op is concerned about because of issues with suspensions, and we're working towards getting that corrected. So if you meet certain standards 3 years in a row, then you lose a lot of funding. And we have lost 2 years in a row. We have met that bad standard 2 years in a row.
Of suspensions.
The interlocal.
Yes, the interlocal, not us locally, but the interlocal to the co-op. And it's a significant amount of money if we would happen to meet that disproportionality again. So they're working very hard to get that corrected, and hopefully do that. Two big things. We have real estate in Independence that we want to have. We have a program in there now, but we're discontinuing that program. And so we're looking at selling that property. And so we begin the process of meeting, selecting a realtor and be moving forward on that. And the program we eliminated is, and I can't remember I know those acronyms, SNV, which is a vocational program in Independence. Right now, the only students they have, they're actually dragging regular ed kids over to this building to have a program in there this year. So we're just going to do away with that program next year. We had a release of contracts for a couple of individuals who wanted out, and we're going to hire another teletherapist. And that's about it. And I know, looks like you have a question.
Item 6, Director's Report, FKSDE sub I, the 2020 IDEA private school participation. How much money do private schools give to the public schools, or how much, what do we do? I mean, the general public needs to know that we help subsidize private schools.
It's on a formula in the title application, and I can't tell you what it is, but it's like, depending on how big the private schools are, how much money they get, it's kind of it's on a per pupil basis number, and I can't tell you the amount, Lou.
So, okay, so, well, I'd like to find out though, but so.
It varies from year to year because of
Exactly. So public schools have to offer what services to private schools?
we have, the co-op has to offer the services that we would offer to our students in a regular school. So it'd be speech,
Gifted. or-
gifted, all that, all those are, whatever we offer at the public school level, we have to provide that same service to the private parochial schools.
Testing for,
All right, so when they have an IEP, is someone at the private school involved, or is it just the public school?
Oh, no, the teachers, the administrators at that private school would be involved, as well as the co-op people.
Okay, so I guess my real concern is for the legislators in Topeka, if we want public schools to exist and we want to coexist with the private schools, then the funding needs to increase in Topeka to the public schools.
Now, this is a federal payment, money,
I
not state
understand,
money.
but the federal payment is only,
Yeah.
it's a pittance
It's a
of what it
pittance.
should be.
It's, I believe that right now the federal payment is about 17%, and it's supposed to be
Right.
42 or 45. And the state's supposed to do 82%, and they're doing about 50.
Exactly. So I guess what I'm saying is, the public schools are under a lot of financial pressure to take care of our own business, yet alone private schools' business. And the public needs to know that. I mean, we offer our services because it's federally mandated.
Mandated, right. Yes, sir.
And people just need to know that. That's all I'm saying.
Right?
yeah, we are very good to them.
Yes, we
Yeah.
are.
We serve
Any other
them well.
questions?
No, but one other thing I forgot in my report, something from Keisha came across the desk today from the National Federation of Officials Association, which is the NFOA. There's another acronym, National Federation Officials Association. It says, these recognize 12 active officials as 2019 State Officials of the Year. These officials have made significant contributions to high school officiating as a Keisha registered official. And in girls track and field, our very own Mike Castle is being recognized as one of those. So good for you.
They run out of people to recommend. Thank you. Okay, we're ready for director reports, and Ben, you're up first. Congratulations on getting the first draw.
All right, well, I put a little presentation together for you guys. It's pretty short and sweet. Hopefully the technology works. All right. So this is going to be not as dramatic. I don't have papers to rip up. It's just going to be your standard run-of-the-mill. But I want to start off with our classroom technology survey that we did back we ended it in September, started at the beginning of the year. This is kind of what's pushed my planning so far is the 89% of people that responded, which were 93, all classroom teachers. They want one-to-one, and then of the 93 respondents, 75% said that they want it now. We kind of gave them options, 1 to 2 years, 2 to 3 years, more than 3 years, and they said they want it now. So that's really what we've kind of been striving for. And I know there's kind of, when you say one-to-one, there's lots of keywords, there's lots of things that come up, and this is our philosophy. That's my work table, by the way, on any given day, so it's all good. Really what we mean right now is that we have mobile carts. We just want to have a mobile cart for every classroom. So the kids aren't on the devices 100% of the time right now, and that's fine. That's how it should be. What it means is that 100% of the time, students will have access to the technology without scheduling conflicts, without the last 5 of the cart were borrowed for this, the last 10 of the cart were borrowed for this. I don't have the cart today. I'd love to use it for this for 20 minutes, for 30 minutes, for an hour, whatever. And really to make it available for teachers, so if they want to do something with integrating tech into their curriculum, they just have it. It's just there. So,
Just to interject real quick, when I
Yes.
did visit Garfield, and they are one-to-one there, right?
Correct.
And they said that was a huge time-saving piece of their day because it's just there, and they've got it, so.
And I mean, and that's, especially at the beginning here, that's all we're looking for, is because they use the carts very well, and we're just trying to get more devices so they can keep using them like they have been. So, Joanna kind of jumped the gun on me, but that's fine. We're one-to-one at Garfield because with my 5-year plan, we were purchasing equipment anyways, and we were like 10 iPads short. Unfortunately, it's because they had smaller attendance than expected, but it gave us an opportunity to try it out. I could throw 10 iPads at it and we could be one-to-one in the whole school. So we've been running that. We've kind of been getting feedback. They've kind of been our guinea pig for it. And that's how we treat it right now, is you have a mobile cart that's in your classroom at all times. So if we look at my 5-year plan for this first year, the new intercom system's the big budget item. I have the RFPs in process because you only get really one shot at it. I'm still looking at features. I know I mentioned this months ago, but there's a lot of options and we need to get the right one because, I mean, it's a very large investment and we want it to be we're trying to get one that's focused on safety because right now what we have is not the greatest. A virtual reality classroom kit was purchased and in use. We have different grade levels borrowing them. Matt Peak kind of takes it around with them. And I think all of them are out right now, which is good. So I don't like seeing them over at my office. I like it when they're gone. That means they're out and kids are on them. We got Matt Peak, it's our tech integrator. He's awesome. I work with him pretty much every day. So we're bouncing stuff off of each other. We're trying to get new and exciting stuff going. And our one-to-one policies, we did a lot of school visits to places that do have one-to-one devices, and so we're gathering data on that, and it's nice to start off with having other people's experience to kind of get ours airtight before we actually roll it out. And again, Garfield, we don't have one-to-one policies right now, but Garfield's pretty much just, you have carts. For the high school and the middle school, we didn't really do much with them this year. They already had a good number of devices. The middle school here and after next year will be one-to-one Chromebooks through that grant. So by that time, we'll be one-to-one everywhere. So not much to say there. Guthridge, Garfield, and Lincoln. At Garfield, again, we pivoted to one-to-one. Everything they had, we went to one-to-one, and then we stole some iPads from Lincoln with the principal's permission to get that going. And then at Guthridge, we were talking about adding a new carpet. Instead, we pivoted and threw them in ETR and that kind of thing. What's next year going to look like? Next year's going to be phones. I know we've talked phones with our school visits too, so I'm open to a lot more than I was previously. So you'll be hearing from me next year on those. We're looking to get a PA system for the track and the football stadium. Get an actual system they're kind of aging right now, the football one, and we don't have one for the track at all. So we kind of hodgepodge one from a lot of different things. We want to purchase one-to-one for one grade level at each building, high school and middle school, to throw them out there to test them out next year. Kind of help separate the cost between the years too, so we don't have to buy them all in 1 year. And then next year, definitely planning on going one-to-one in all 3 grade schools. And then also, I'm really trying to fight to get Matt Peak as full-time, but I know that's a wish list type of thing, so I'm sure we'll talk about that when we talk about renewing my plan. So the overall status it's good. I think we're doing very well. I don't have really many complaints. We haven't had too many equipment failures, just the kind of normal everyday stuff. We're fighting to get everything going, and I think overall we're sitting pretty right now. So, and any questions for me? This is a particularly interesting Tuesday we had one day, so happens sometimes, but.
Why iPads instead of the less expensive Chromebooks?
iPads at the grade schools, just because they're a better, from our experience from having them there, they just seem like a better interactive device for that grade level. In terms of the apps that we have, the teachers at that level like the Macs, they integrate with the Macs very well. We've been rolling out like Apple School and Apple Classroom, stuff like that, and so and we get them for $290 a piece, which is not
And the
that much.
Chromebook's $150.
Depending on, we've spent a little more than that on ours just because we don't get the bare minimum, we get slightly better ones, so I don't have those figures on hand, but I can have those if you want them, just kind of what we spent on them, so.
No, last time you gave me a stack this high of information.
You said you were a paper guy, so,
Just send me a short
okay.
But the little,
Twitter.
they kind of like the size of the iPads too for the, for elementary.
They're pretty durable. I mean, we've lost 2 this year out of the 700-ish we have, so. Actually, some of those are the Macs too, but, so. It's been a great device at that level. It's kind of when we get into the middle school and high school levels when we are trying to transfer more. Originally, back in the day, Paul and I, we really fought for laptops, but it's at this point, they're just too expensive to do one-to-one laptops, so.
Okay, I'm not a Luddite, I'm not anti-technology because I use it all the time, but I'm also a bibliophile. I want a book, I want paper, I want to make sure our kids get into the library and use textbooks and know how to take notes and know how to write cursive and take notes. And we have to be careful because I see more and more schools getting away from the iPads the more I do my homework. And some of the most elite schools don't even have laptops or iPads. So I'm not knocking you, Ben.
No,
I'm just saying,
Yeah, there's lots of different environments. I mean, when our school business, we went to a school that was 100% iPads from kindergarten to high school. So, and so they actually showed me some things at the middle school and high school level with the iPads that kind of we haven't been exposed to, and it's like, yeah.
But on the other hand, if we want to build relationships, you want to be able to sit down and communicate, and we need to start teaching that civil discourse.
Correct, and that's
This
not
is
what.
not civil discourse.
And see, then that's the thing, that's what my goal is to have it available for the teacher. If they want to use the technology, it's there, they can use it, it's good to go. They don't have to worry about, is it broken today, is it rented out today? In terms of a big curriculum change or something like that, that's what we need to look at that.
And it's always about upgrading and the next level. It's silk and snake oil, that's the way it is.
But I mean, that's.
No, I appreciate what you do. Just like to ask you some questions now and then.
Yeah,
Right.
no, not a problem.
Well, and it's kind of like the term balanced literacy, when, you couldn't have just kids sit and read all the time. And our teachers have to be smart enough.
And they are.
And they are, they're professional enough and I mean, we know how important communication skills are, and they do have to learn to write and communicate. And so it is important that, there's a good balance there.
Good word, balance.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Ben. Rick, Deidre, you're up next. Transportation.
Thank you, Ben. That was very thorough.
No
That's
problem.
good.
And again, if you ever have questions, just let me know.
And I'm on your committee. That's why I knew that.
Rain on its parade. All right.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm going to give you a report tonight about what things are going on in the transportation department. and some of the progress we're making in the process of building a transportation department here in the school district. I became a transportation director 4.5 years ago. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know all the responsibilities that came with the job. Over the 4.5 years, I've learned a lot. I think you'll see in this report tonight an overview of a lot of things that I'm responsible for, that we do here. I will tell you my main responsibility, and I've known this from day one, is to make sure that we're providing the safest and friendliest form of transportation while making sure that we are operating in the most efficient way possible without sacrificing safety. Safety is our number one goal when you're transporting children. We are hauling the most precious cargo in the world. Every school district in Kansas is required to have bus riders participate in 2 emergency bus evacuation drills a year. You have one the first semester, you have one the second semester. We completed our second and final emergency evacuation drill for this school year on February 7th of the year 2020. This district is unique in the way we do evacuation drills because we have kids getting off and on, off and on, off and on. It's difficult just to pull her out and go do an evacuation drill because some kids will get missed. What we've done this year is I get with the principals, we set a date, we take 3 buses to that building. They have a time they want to do it. We bring the kids out, we run them through evacuation drills. 3 buses, about 2 loads of kid at each building, and it doesn't take much more than 15 minutes. But that's one of the main requirements, and we get audited on this. I have to have documentation on this every year that we perform these 2 evacuation drills. The numbers of students that have asked for transportation this year, AM riders, we've had 248 students apply for transportation on the routes here in town. The PM riders, we have 321 students that's asked for transportation. Special needs in town, 30 students. Our sped bus going to McCune, there's 8 students, and our sped van going to Independence, 12 students. That's a total of 50 students that we're providing special transportation for. The auditor was here right before Christmas, and normally we're audited on documentation from the previous school year. The bus company that you had contracted with in the past did not leave any information from last year for us to provide to the auditor. I made sure that KSB School Bus Safety Department was aware of this, and they told me just to provide the information that we've obtained so far this year.
And we did just fine.
Pardon?
And that audit came back just fine.
Came back fine, great. I'm gonna go over some of the things that we are audited on, and this will kind of help you understand what my responsibilities are. I have to show them proof that each bus driver has a valid CDL license. And let me tell you, people will forget when their driver's license expires. So I have a log, and I just check it periodically to make sure that nobody's getting close to expiring.
Where do they get that renewed, in Chanute?
They can do it down here, I believe. You get your CDL license in Chanute, but you can go down here and renew. It's just an eye test and money is what it basically amounts to, Lou. I have to make sure that each driver's first aid CPR is current. That renews every 2 years. I have to make sure that the driver improvement training is current, and we get audited on that. That has to be renewed every 3 years. They have to take a class every 3 years on that. Make sure we have a current physical on file. Some of those are 1 year, some of those are 2 year, depending on their health situation. Make sure that the drivers have 10 safety meetings a year. And that's prorated. If somebody comes in during the school year, we prorate that. But each driver that starts and finishes with us has to sit on 10 safety meetings, whether I give them or I have a guest speaker come in. We have to have 10 safety meetings a year. And again, I just told you about the emergency evacuation drills. All that stuff I just told you is what the auditor's looking for when he comes here. All of our drivers are in a drug testing program. We have a contract with Kansas Drug Testing to provide this service. As of January 6, 2020, all companies that hire CDL employees are now required to do annual checks of our current drivers and new hires for any drug or alcohol infractions. This will be done through the Federal Motor Carriers Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse website. This is another, let me rephrase that. This has been designed to keep the alcoholics and the drug users off the roads. Because in the past, if somebody tested positive for drugs or alcohol and they were released by their employer, they could just go anywhere else, cross state lines, and get a job. Now, if they're tested positive on any of these things, they're reported to the clearinghouse, and anytime you hire a new CDL driver, you have to go to this clearinghouse. It's online. You have to go in and see if anything shows up there.
So that's a national clearinghouse?
It is, yes. Federal Motor Carriers came up with this, and it went into effect January 6th this year. It's just a way, and it's new. It's a change, and you all know people don't like change. But it will, in time, it will keep the drunks and alcoholics off the roads. Activity trips this year. From September to the end of January, Parsons High School, 66 bus trips. Middle school, same time frame, 46 bus trips. Middle school, same time frame, 17 bus trips. That's a total of 132 activity bus trips, whether it's athletics, whether it's a chess, forensics, band. We moved some kids.
Well, somehow or the other, you said high school 66, middle school 46, and who has 17?
Elementary.
Elementary.
Yes.
Okay.
Total bus miles, first semester. Route miles, we had 10,692 route miles, just putting around Parsons. Activity trip miles, 10,675. Special education miles, 10,900. Tech miles, 100. Grand total of 32,367 miles per semester. Questions?
Do the drivers have to do a background check like all?
Before we hire anybody, we do a background check.
Okay. And then they're vetted through the administration?
Yes, yes, we do a background check through KBI, I believe it is.
And then there's a monitor on every school bus?
Yes, sir.
And I'm assuming they're also drug tested?
No, sir.
Well, then they're background checked.
They are background check, yes, making sure we're not hiring any sex offenders, pedophiles, anybody that's on the list, yes.
And I asked Lori today, I know you have fire extinguishers, but I was looking into this fire suppression system after that big bus accident in Des Moines that caught on fire.
And I have an answer for you. We do not have them on our buses.
Yeah, I don't think
They're
most
not
buses
required in the
do
state of
that.
They're not required in the state of Kansas. Minimum cost, and Jeremy called me back.
Okay.
Minimum cost, $4,500 to have them installed.
And it was something I'd never even, I mean, when you said fire suppression, I thought, each of our buses has a fire extinguisher.
Fire
Well,
extinguisher.
that's different than the
But you
fire
were talking,
suppression
yeah, you were
system.
talking about a suppression
Fire
system
suppression is
on a
underneath
bus.
the
Yeah.
hood.
Yeah.
And when it detects some type of a fire, it will release a chemical to
Yeah. A dry
try to
chemical.
control that fire long enough to get students off the buses.
I just see it coming, I see it coming down the road is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Seatbelts, everything else.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe.
For seatbelts.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Have we had any accidents this year?
We've had a couple of scrapes. Yeah, nothing major. A couple drivers turned too short and scraped some utility poles over by Lincoln. Yeah.
Now, on the drivers that approach the buses that are stopped with the arm out,
Mhm.
do we have a camera that can catch the driver's license?
No.
Isn't that what some school buses are having to do?
Linda, you might be able to
Well,
enlighten us a little bit
there's
on that. There's been a
yeah.
bill introduced at the State House right now.
And there was one last year as well, to put those cameras on those stop arms.
Right.
And then there are companies that would be the ones who would take the picture, and then they would make the money off of part of what the fine would be. That would be how they would get
It
paid.
was moved to the judicial committee.
So I don't
Because
know.
of the legalities of it, of who gets the money. The school districts would not get the
No.
money.
Well, it's about the safety more than anything, because I've heard that most of the accidents where kids are hit happen when the kids are entering or exiting the bus. And do some school buses have extended arms that,
Some do. In the state of Missouri, they're required to have a big, long arm on the back and a longer arm on the front.
okay, well, I'm just,
And we have had those infractions. Matter of fact, I contacted Officer Gabbard last week, told him of an incident on 26 and Stevens. The next morning, there was a police officer sitting
okay,
up.
good.
Of course, nobody's going to do it when a police officer's sitting there, but, you know, we do what we can. Until it becomes law, there's not a whole lot we can do.
I think the general public, when they're out like on 32nd Street and you're going, the bus is going north and the cars are coming south, they don't think they have to stop.
Yeah.
But legally, they do.
They do. You're right.
Right?
You're right.
The bus driver was even alert enough to give me a tag number, color, and a make of the car. So I'm pretty sure if the Parsons PD wanted to go talk to him, they had enough information.
To do that.
Yeah.
Rick, you said number of students at AM that ask for transportation. Why did you say ask for transportation?
They apply. They
Okay.
apply. Not-
And we
just
serve
because
them?
200, just because I told you 248, they don't ride every night.
That's what I'm.
They don't ride every night,
Exactly,
yeah.
that's why I'm saying, what,
Yeah, they
Numbers.
have to apply for it during enrollment. And when they come in during the school year, we have them fill out a transportation request form, which basically that's saying, can I ride when I need to ride a bus?
So we have 240 that have signed up that have said, sometime I might need to ride a bus.
Yeah,
And some days
right.
it may be 241, and some other days it may be 221. It just depends on who needs to
I
ride.
can give you a breakdown on each bus, how many's asked for transportation.
I just
AM,
see, I see buses passing students walking, and that breaks my heart when it's
I'm
cold.
sorry?
I see buses passing students walking, and I've mentioned this to Linda, in the cold, and that just breaks my heart. It makes no sense to me on 26th Street. I see them walking in that cold,
And
and
if-
buses are going by them, and it just makes me wonder.
Well, and if they're a K-5 student, they're eligible for transportation. They would just need to let someone know so that we can pick them up at one of those spots. And if it's an older student, they may be eligible for transportation. It would just depend on how many other riders we may have, if there's adequate space on those buses.
I will tell you, the buses are full. You got 77 that's applied on blue bus on the AM, 81 on the red bus in the AM, 90 on the green bus in the AM. PM, there's 105 that's applied on the blue bus. The red bus, 76, the green bus, 140.
Well, I wonder why they're
full.
not going on the bus, Olivia.
I don't know.
I'd like
I
to
see
find
them
out myself.
on a daily, because that's about the time I get out and get to moving, when school's getting out. Middle school. A lot of them middle school, some of them are baby, some of them are elementary. Just depends. And it's been so cold, and to see
We're to
them,
the point, if you want to haul more kids, we'll have to have more buses, we'll have to have more stops.
maybe we'll have to have more parents apply and sign up. And the kids, that's a lot of responsibility to put on the kid. It needs to be put on the parent from the elementary level, so.
But every once in a while, there's some that don't want to ride. Even if it's, they're,
So on the drug screening, is it a random drug screening or is it scheduled?
Yes, it's random.
Okay.
Yes, I'll get a phone call, or basically I get a letter that tells me in advance who's going to be tested. And then the gentleman that's coming, he will call me and tell me what date and time he'll be here, and then make arrangements to get him.
Okay. I would like to get Mr. Giefer's opinion and input on the bus barn, so I don't know if we're ready to move on to that or not, but.
Well, and I did ask Mr. Giefer, he's been a transportation director for a few years before he came here, and so he's had some experience with inside buses and outside buses, and so he's got some pictures, and has some information and some data he's collected in regard to bus storage that I've asked him to share.
I have a presentation whenever you're ready for it, so
So we get that.
I'll hang around, Mike.
Do the agenda item while we bring you back up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are ready for 10.001, I believe it is, or 10.0 anyhow, it's a discussion and possible action on facilities assessment. Lori?
Okay, so the facilities team has done our walkthroughs on all of the buildings, and we have lists of things that we have collected and identified individually as items that we saw that were of concern. We have not taken those and put those together in a list for the district yet. I mean, as a group, which we could do. We scheduled it. We weren't able to get everyone together this week to get that done. So when I went to KASB in December, we were talking about, we had been at Garfield and we'd seen the chimney and we knew the chimney was going to require an engineer, an architect of some sort. We weren't really sure. So I attended all of the facility breakout sessions that they had there at KASB, and there was very limited information, really. Some guys had some spreadsheets that they'd done, and they had an individual architect and maybe an individual engineer. And then I happened to talk to another superintendent from Humboldt, and she had said, well, this is what her group did. I don't know if you want to pass that. I know Roger's had a chance to look at that. And so this is what her group did in regard to facilities assessment. They had walkthroughs that they had done as a group. And then she had this group come in and they prepared this book for them. So this is a group. And so that was the information that I brought in December. Well, I handed it out when we were at Washington doing the walkthrough, kind of talked about it. And then it was in another update. The date is listed in here. And then at a board meeting with DCS. And so that book, they go and they'll tour all the buildings with an architect, with an engineer. They'll take some pictures. They'll identify different areas that as engineers and architects, they're going to know kind of what, where on my paper, I've written like, oh, hanging wires. I don't really know what that means. But as an architect, they're going to know where we have south side gutters, those kinds of things. So there's a book that they've put together as an example for Humboldt that they can do for us, that then will also help when we do our capital outlay, because if you look in the back, they'll take our facilities and say, okay, this is how old they are, when they were, and then it's projected to last this long, so this is when you could look to replace it. Now, none of those projects have to be done, because what we really should do is take our list that our group has done and prioritize and see. And then when this group comes back on March the 6th, which will be their halfway point, because they haven't seen our stuff yet necessarily, because we don't want to sway any, their decision, then we'll be able to look and compare and talk about, okay, well, here's what we had as a group. What have you found so far? And kind of see, and then it should be completed by the end of April. The formal facilities assessment, end of April. It should be done.
I guess, go ahead.
How far out does this go? What's their?
20 years.
20 years.
20 years. And now in there, I think it went 25 because they have, it looks like Humboldt, when I went back and looked, looks like Humboldt, their buses, they do it on a 25-year, which is the most that you can use, most that you can have a bus out. Not that they actually do that, but it could go out that far. But then also, depending on how long a roof is to last, it could go out that far too. So, but it'll check the electrical, the plumbing, all of those things, which are just good things that we wouldn't.
You started to say
Yeah,
something.
I guess the part that bothers me, that there was never any board discussion before this was done. Now, I know you put these things in there, but to me, I would have thought we should have had discussion, and yet I was on the facilities team. I never knew anything about this company even coming until I thought we were going to meet one day to assess what we were doing, and all of a sudden, DCS was here, the same guys that was trying to push the bus barn deal. And I just felt that we're not working together here. We're getting the cart ahead of the horse. by means. And another thing, we never include our own people, our own local people.
Well, but nothing has, when I talked to the one person that I knew of that was local, they'd said, well, see if he could find anyone, and no one had ever, I don't know that we have the people, and I don't know who they are, that are able to compile something like this for us in regard to our facilities.
Well, but this is just a glitzy thing. I mean, it looks good, it's glitzy. It might tell us something, but when you talked about wiring, do you think you can see the wiring that's behind those walls? No, you might see the breaker boxes and this and that structure, but you aren't going to see it unless you really dig into it. Same way when we tried to do the bus barn before, we went outside. We never use our own people, very seldom. And they're the ones that pay our taxes.
Well, and when the board gets this assessment, and there are going to probably be some things that as a group we're going to need to have done, there's nothing to say that local people won't take those bids, make a bid, and that would be the bid that we would accept and that they would get to do the work.
Yeah, but here's the deal with DCS. They stick you a 10% surcharge, correct?
Well, this right here was a flat fee. And so what we choose to do.
$7,500, right?
Mm-hmm. And so what we choose to do from that is totally separate. We could go with DCS, or we could say, well, we need to do these things, and then try to figure out how to write the RFP for the specifics and look for that. Or they could do it for a fee.
10%. Yeah. So they're just a middleman. Just like the roof.
Roger. So you went up, you toured all the buildings, correct?
Yes.
And James was part of
Yes.
that? He was the only maintenance person?
Yes.
And you're the only board member?
No, David went.
was a
Oh,
part
David
of
was?
that.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Before I vote on a bus barn for whatever it costs, did you see any big ticket items that need to be addressed immediately?
Yes. Well, I did because James was concerned about,
HVAC at Garfield.
yes, well, and the roof, remember?
Yes.
There were two guys that hunt on me that are professional roofers in Louisiana. And so James said, well, usually it costs a fee. I said, hey, I'll just get them to come up here, just look at the roof. It's a family.
Okay.
So they got up on the middle school roof. It's done. It's done. Now, if water gets underneath that roof, then it's a complete tear off. Now it's just an overlay.
Okay. So there's one big ticket item
It'll
that
be
needs
an ex-
immediate addressing. Is that
Yes.
what you're saying?
Yes,
There's a lot of immediate needs. The problem is, how do you want to say, well, big ticket item? I think we got to quantify how big of a ticket item.
Okay, well, let me, I worded that wrong.
You 100,000 plus, is that what you're saying? Lou, big ticket, is that what you're calling?
I missed that.
No, what are you calling a big ticket item? 100,000 plus?
50?
Oh,
Okay.
there's going to be a lot.
Yeah, there's several.
If we're looking at 50.
So
But I think,
you're looking at $250,000, $500,000?
Well, the roof, I don't know, it depends, but he says it just depends, but it's.
I guess what I'm saying,
done.
these are things that really need to be addressed, right? Is that
Well,
what you-
because
Yes.
the roof is approaching 20 years.
Okay,
and those were professional men that you had get on the roof and
Yes.
look at that.
Yeah.
And so that was how they knew.
Yeah,
And so-
and the high school, VOTEC, auto mechanics and graphic arts, they've had problems there for years with leaking. He got up there and told them it has to be, something needs to be done there. Because the water was leaking down in on Mrs. Smith's computers, and she had to cover them up with plastic. Now, I think they've got some of it taken
Some
care
of
of,
that, mhm.
but it's still leaking.
okay, so as board members, I hear you saying they should be addressed as soon as possible, right?
Well, not Ben, but James has talked about, we need to get going because summer's right around the corner.
And what we're going to have to look at is, there are so many things that we don't know. Like, we do know that at Garfield, one of the walls is spongy in that in
On
that
the chimney.
teacher's lounge, through the chimney.
And
But we don't know, does the chimney need to come down? Does the wall need to be replaced? Does something need to be resealed? Those are things that we don't know. We can look at it and say, this needs something, but is that more important and more imperative to get done than the high school roof or the middle school roof? Those are things that, as professionals, we
Well,
don't
okay,
know.
David runs a business, you have a farm, so can you not put some of this information down so we can start addressing it?
And I think that's what that report is for.
Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
did you get up on the roof of Garfield?
No,
No,
nobody
none
did.
of us did.
Okay, I
We
guess
haven't
I
been
was.
up on the roof of,
Right, we
I haven't
did-
been up on any of the,
No,
any of the
as-
buildings.
as a
I got up
facility
one
team,
day
we
with
did.
James, I guess, no, when we were walking around poking there for Sunday, he got us up. Maybe you were another part.
That's, no. I
Or
was-
maybe I got up the next day, because I said, I'd like to see that what chimney. The chimney was struck by lightning several years ago. And I'm not sure how many years ago, Linda?
I don't know.
But the border, you can see the border, it was removed, but at the bottom where the lightning come down, it's broken the bricks, cracked them right straight down.
Okay, so are there not some projects you could start now before we do this?
They're in the process of doing that for us right now.
All right, when would it be finished?
They'll be finished by the end of April. But yes, there are some things that we can start to
Okay.
look at that I'm sure are gonna show up on the top of that list. I mean, if, when your
I would say
guy,
that chimney, because it's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's leaking right down on the new.
the thing is, James, we're not sure what to do yet with it, like, and so I think that's why we need the engineer to have that report. And that was one of the first places they were gonna look on Monday. They were gonna spend quite a bit of time there. And then the middle school roof, because James alerted them to that, because your guys had been on there.
Right.
So those were two of the first spots they were gonna look to see, because they're gonna have, a professional's gonna have to tell us what to do with that chimney.
And then I think at that point in time, we just have to decide, okay, is this at a financial level, we need to
Right.
bid it out? And I think you're
Yeah.
exactly right. I think we need to have the opportunity for people to present pricing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
I think the deal
No,
with
no.
Garfield chimney, it just needs to come down.
Come down.
I mean, you can patch it, but it isn't used anymore.
Right.
We don't use the
And then it'll
borer
just
system
leak.
anymore.
It'll just
Well, I'm
leak
with
later.
David, I want some expert advice on it. I think you would agree to that, don't?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
and the thing is, James is good at what he does. The problem is, he reacts to the problems. It's not any forethought, it's just, hey, what's my immediate need? What do I have to address immediately?
There's
And
problems
this-
every day.
Every
Yeah,
day.
so
And so
it's-
he's got to get-
That's what that report, in
Take
my
care of
mind,
so
Right.
that
would
would
be
get a
beneficial.
prioritized.
This- right.
Okay, and I like that.
Well, and that's his job,
Right.
that's meeting,
Well, and it's,
Yeah.
We're not engineers, we're not,
Yeah,
electrical
architects.
contractors and, plumbers.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't,
So this is a certified engineering company that
Yes,
would,
it is, and architects,
and they would have it done by,
the end of
April.
April. Well, we have a meeting April 15th. So I don't know that the book will be done, that it'll all be pretty and fancy by April 15th. We're going to meet March the 9th again, is that March the 9th or the 6th, one of those 2 days, the 6th. And so they're going to give us a midterm report, and they were going to look first at the chimney at Garfield, and then you mentioned the roof at the middle school. And so James had said, because, some of his guys have been on top of it.
well, I guess that's my point about the bus part. I'd like to get some of this stuff fixed before,
Yeah, the list goes on and on.
It does go on, and so much
well,
of
I
it is.
understand, but some things need to be addressed immediately. is
Right,
what
Right,
you're
I
saying.
agree.
yeah, and so much of it is deferred maintenance, because for so long, there wasn't the money in schools, in the budgets. to
but our
get things
capital
done.
outlay is,
Our capital outlay is in good shape, our cash reserves are in
Ah.
good shape, yes,
But here, excuse me for interrupting, but here's one thing I don't understand. We put a roof on the district office, and we didn't have any engineers or anybody come in and tell us, he just went to a roofing company and got it done. We didn't have to,
because there wasn't anything, it was just leaking down the wall.
we addressed all there was a need, we bid it out and replaced
well,
it.
that's what I mean.
But it wasn't, it didn't require any, it's just a flat roof, it was my understanding it was the same kind of roof that we put on before, the TPO.
Yeah, they said we only.
And that there wasn't any architectural engineer.
But like you said, Roger, I'm looking in here, they're going inside the walls and they're looking for things that you said that we need to do that we
Yeah.
can't really see. And I would put some pressure on them to make sure that we do it right.
Right.
I understand your point.
well, and since it is a long-range project, we're looking for things that, short and long, and take care of all of it and get a plan.
Now, did they do this with any board members going along with them, or they just did this on their own?
Oh, you mean when they went and took pictures?
Yeah, so, I mean, because they,
I mean, if you
Roger
wanted
knows
to
his
go, I'm
buildings
sure
better
you
than
could
anyone.
tag along. I mean, we had a meeting that one day, visited with them and met them, but I don't know if in Humboldt they had board members go when they did the inspections of the buildings or not.
Just
I know they're
curious.
willing to come and give updates and visit.
All right, so this is already a done deal?
In Humboldt?
No, ours.
Oh, yes. Yes, they're in the process of doing that life cycle.
Okay.
I have. But you're right, there are a lot of projects
So what action
that
do you need?
to be done. There really doesn't need to be an action. It just was up for a discussion, and I'm not sure what the action would have been. Or could have been.
It's not an action item.
It's really not.
Okay,
I don't see it.
anything else? Okay, then we'll move to the old business on the discussion of possible action on the bus barn. And we had tabled this from back in May, and time to bring it forward again and see if we are going to do something now, or we're going to postpone this until later.
That's my suggestion. I hate to say that.
Do you want my presentation then?
Yeah, I want to know what we're dealing with, so good and the bad and the ugly.
And there's a little bit of all of it in bus storage.
When I first came here, I was told there would be a bus barn. Didn't really affect my decision to come here. I came here to help Parsons build a transportation department for the children. It's a common sense thing. I'm sure most of you put your vehicles in a garage every night to protect them from the weather. This is no different. Main reason for storing our buses inside is to protect the taxpayers' investments. What do we got, 900,000 invested in buses right now? And I will tell you, if this is not the best-looking fleet in southeast Kansas, it's one of them. It is a very
Looks
nice
pretty
fleet of
good.
buses, let me tell you.
They better.
And
You won't see very many dirty buses run around Parsons
No.
because there's no need to be. They will be kept clean, and I will see to that.
If you see a really clean, shiny bus, I bet
Storing
you
the
know.
buses inside will ensure that the
I know,
engines are
they are
warm and
pretty.
easy to start. Offset the cost of electricity to keep the engines warm throughout the winter. Those buses have to be plugged in this cold weather to keep the engine blocks warm. For the month of December, we spent $304.60. Those arrows pointing to those green cords, those are the block heaters. We plug them in every night when they come in off the route, so they'll start easy in the morning. Prevents the need to start buses early to warm them up, which will reduce fuel costs, but more importantly, reduce the wear that engines incur while idling. For a bus to sit there for 30 minutes to warm up, that is hard on a diesel engine. Eliminates the hazards for bus drivers. Drivers need secure dry footing to reduce risk of injury or liability. That picture was taken last week when we had all the rain,
And that was after a truckload of gravel was brought.
and that was after gravel was put there, yes. Eliminate the risk of injury to bus drivers while cleaning the ice and snow off the buses. Right there on your bottom left, there's a step we have to step on, and the other step is a tire. It's not the safest thing in the world to get up there with an ice scraper and scrape them off with. Yes, the defroster will get some of it off, but we go back to safety. That whole windshield needs to be cleaned off so you can see. This here is an item here that has really caused me a lot of problems in the past. Electric door motors and gears. Thomas buses all operate off automatic door openers. Storing our buses inside will keep the door motors and gears dry so they do not freeze and break. The parts are expensive, and in my experience, there's always been a 2-week wait time for the parts, and it's labor intense. It's always resulted in lengthy downtime, and we can't afford to have buses down for very long, especially in right now when things are hopping. As you can see where those arrows are pointed, when it's raining and if the wind's blowing hard enough, it will blow water in those cracks, and back in there is where that motor and gears are. This is the inside view, the left picture. is the handle that releases the door from the automatic opener. You can open it manually. The right picture, the button surrounded by red, is the button that opens the door, and right there is the culprit. That is the motor gear assembly, and as you can see on the right, they give those things away. Last year, we had 2 buses break from sitting outside. The rain blew in those, where that assembly is, and the temperature dropped down into the teens. The next morning, when the drivers went out to open the doors, we had to replace 2 of those units. It took 2 weeks to get 2 of those in, and not very many people understand how those work. Those are tied to our child check alarm systems in the buses. Anytime you throw that stop sign out, that activates that child check alarm. When the route's done, they park the bus, turn the key off. They better not open the door till they go to the back of the bus to disengage it, because the horns and everything will just go off. They want them to go back to the back of the bus. That's designed to go to the back of the bus so you can look in every seat to make sure there's not a child asleep in there. My first year at Erie, we didn't have those on all the buses. We had a child left on a bus. I talked to the superintendent, and within the next 3 weeks, we had them on all the buses, because those are lifesavers. Those make the drivers go to the back. But back to my main story is they're very expensive to fix when they break. We did have 2 this year, get some ice up in there, and when they opened them, they weren't froze solid, but they were froze solid enough that the half moon gear slipped. And when they come back in off the route and they turned the key off, it told the computer that the door was open. So they have to be set just right. They're very, very technical. No more thawing out bus doors and locks on cold, dark mornings. I can't tell you how many times this year I've hauled hot buckets of water out to those buses to pour on those door locks, because you can't get a key in there because the ice is frozen inside those door locks. Storing buses inside will protect the seals of the roof hatches from the sun and the elements. Left outside over time, the seals will crack, causing them to leak. When this happens, the roof hatch must be replaced. We probably replaced 4 of those in the 4 years I was up at Erie. And, the hot, the cold, it just cracks that caulking, and water will eventually run down inside when you're transporting. They come as kits, $338. Those are just parts, just like on the door assembly. That's just part. That's not installation charges with it. Kept inside, the tires of the buses are not constantly exposed to the sun and the cold, which will cause dry rot. This will help extend the life of the tires. The 2014 tire, I doubt very seriously that that's an original tire, because that bus come in with like 60,000 miles on it. But the tire on the 2020 is original. You can tell it's a pretty new tire. A warm place is needed to wash vomit out of the buses. And let me tell you, we've had a rash of that this year. This is a big issue in the wintertime, as the moisture will freeze to the floor before it's clean. It will also create a safety hazard by causing the floor to become slick before the cleaning process is finished. Last week, I had to go out with a mop. They spilled some Gatorade or something down the aisle, and I skated back to the front door. It froze that quick. We always use the water hose. It's the best way to clean out a bus, and helps reduce infection and illness. We want to get them cleaned out good, because we don't always get the trash can back to them soon enough. Storing the buses inside will prevent the paint from fading. I won't tell you what district this is on the picture on the left. It's probably pretty easy to guess.
It's not ours.
But that picture on the right
That's a pretty bus.
is a nice looking new bus. Storing the buses inside will prevent them from being vandalized, and this does happen.
And we don't know who district number 54 is. It's not anybody in Parsons or in the
If
area,
somebody-
so I don't want anyone to be, oh.
And it doesn't have to be broken windows. If somebody wanted to keep school from happening, all they had to do is, when them engines wouldn't start if it's cold enough. A building for the buses will provide badly needed office space and also more privacy to view the bus video. This is my office, I'm not complaining. I make do. I have to watch a lot of bus video, there's a lot of traffic back there. Some of that's pretty privy information. Repairs and the issues that I've just shared with you are directly related to not having a building to store buses in. I've been involved in student transportation since 2008. This is what I have seen and experienced repeatedly over the past 12 years. Storing our buses inside will reduce maintenance expenses and preserve the appearance of our fleet. USD has a lot to be proud of. Which image do you want our district to represent? That's pretty much all I have.
Any questions for Rick? Okay,
So how much vandalism has there been?
This year, none.
None?
I talked to Jim Lubers. He told me the other day, in the 30-some years he was here, there's been nothing.
All right,
No,
well, how
now,
much-
somebody got into a bus, I believe.
At least on two different, but just,
But-
they had a
but-
tea party. They
Yeah,
weren't
but there was
being-
no damage.
They were
nothing.
Can you guarantee it won't happen? Roger?
Well, no, but you're showing us a scare tactic.
No,
Factual.
I think it's just.
It's factual. We've had it happen at other districts.
Well, you may have, but if it was such a good deal, how come other districts don't build bus barns?
Well, I think
Roy
part of it
has
is, I think part of it is the expense.
One out of how many?
That's-
One. Because the money,
I'm sure there's more
it
than
doesn't,
that. I'm not going to argue with you. I just presented the facts to you.
okay.
I mean, I think there is an expense, and also some of our neighboring districts also are able to enclose their buses, and whether that be in large fenced areas. I know, like in 506, they're all they aren't enclosed in a
Barn.
barn.
They're just in a
No,
yard.
But they're in a yard with a big tall fence, and we haven't needed that for vandalism purposes. That's not, been an issue here, which is great, and that's good. There's just also a lot of wear and tear on a bus if they're just outside, but that's totally up to you guys.
But
I
another
just
thing,
need some
Altamont
direction.
also stores other equipment inside that yard.
Oh, their yard is huge.
So it's not just buses.
No,
It's
and
for everything.
they do have a big facility where they could pull a bus in and do some work if they wanted to.
They have lots
They have
more
lots of
buses.
bays.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. So,
But when we were talking about bus barns, there was only one person that we never bid out or anything
no,
like that?
because the board elected not to move forward with getting any bids for anyone else for any kind of,
Because I talked
barn
to
to
a
be built.
contractor this morning, just off the top of having coffee, and he called a company that builds metal buildings, and for $100,000, you can get a nice building with a slab. It won't be the Cadillac of buildings, but it'll do what you're asking us to do.
Well,
other
but
than
see,
that.
a lot of that in there, what was showed, that our building was not gonna be heated. So that don't make any difference. If you're going on a route and you're way up where with some kids, that thing can still freeze.
But it will keep the ice and snow and rain
Yeah,
off.
but how many times do we have ice and
Well,
stuff?
that's true too. I was thinking about that myself.
yeah, so it feels
Yeah,
like
maybe.
quite a bit this year, but,
But look at where we're looking at. We're almost out of February too.
right.
And remember, the last bid was 365,000, and that guy was gonna make 35,000
Well, I think
right off the
that's
top.
right.
Well, that doesn't mean we have to go
Absolutely.
that
No.
high.
No, but it kept going because of what we did. I see no reason, of all the things we need to do, why do we even want to consider a bus barn when we got all these other things to do?
That
Well-
was where I was headed, but
And maybe we don't, but we waited a year, and I'm glad we did, and to me, I see the need for something to keep them, to me, it seems common sense if we can do it at a decent price to keep them maintained better and looking better. We put a lot of money
We did.
into this.
But you look at if it was such a good deal, what about other districts? How many other districts do you have building just to put all their buses in? You think, all we do is run some little routes around town, and we won one out toward Strauss, out toward me out there. And that's it, pick up a handful of kids.
And so
We aren't like
we just have to
the other
decide.
districts around us.
And so we don't have to do what others do. We just have to decide what works for Parsons and what works best for Parsons and Parsons buses, because how others do it is how others do it. And so if this board feels like we need to move forward and have a barn, we do. And if not, then, that's up to you guys too. But I think it needs to be what's best for Parsons. And we do have a newer fleet.
We have 8 buses. Most districts have 18 to 20. They have a big fleet. To get all that in.
Well, I'm with Roger. I'd like to see what our needs are and the costs are for all these assessments. And then I certainly would like to look at some possibilities for different types of bus barns and different prices to see where it fits in to our budget.
Yeah,
based on-
and I'd like to
based
talk to
on-
other transportation directors too. I just go around and talk to them just to see what
Well-
they have to say about it.
I don't agree with you. on this.
We can survey those directors, if we ask Lori to contact the directors in our area.
And I can easily do that.
Frontenac has a bus barn, I believe.
I saw that.
Arma has one.
And what would you like the survey to include?
No, I
How many-
just, no.
Like how many buses they have?
No,
and
no,
if
no,
you
no,
don't-
I just want to go see it. I want to see it physically. I saw the Frontenac one when I saw the thing. I'm just curious to see the
Oh,
building.
So after, so if
And
we were,
talking to the best directors themselves. I just want to ask them a few questions.
so if we were to move forward with building a bus barn, you'd like to have a group of us go do that?
Well, even before you even started, I just want to see, because I want to know what they have to say.
Are we thinking that it will still be where we were talking about at the district office?
That would be my recommendation. We've not been able to find,
Yeah, it was my personal hope that we could find a building, a commercial building become available that we could pick up for a reasonable amount, and we could almost just move into their facility.
that's not,
Have we explored Great Plains?
It's not in our district.
Oh,
What was that
Only the
last
front part is it.
Great Plains.
Great Plains
Is the
isn't in our
front
district.
part, none of that is at all?
No,
Yeah.
it belongs to 504 and 506.
Do you want to, again, table this until we get our facilities report assessment looked at to see what kind of cost that's going to be and then try to move forward, or we want
I
to?
think that's, in my opinion, that's the wise thing to do. But I certainly doesn't keep you from looking around and asking questions like Roger said.
And I know there was a savings for us bringing the buses and the transportation in-house, so we have to keep that perspective in mind as well. That we do have money that wasn't available last year, available to put
Right.
toward a bus barn.
Could we
I'm
see
a
it?
proponent
Could we see
of
that
keeping
amount
something.
that we're
Yeah.
saving?
I can get you that amount.
You're a proponent of what,
Well,
David?
another thing, we're not going to work on any buses here. I mean, we don't have anybody certified, but Dave Ferguson, who's at the high school, the auto shop teacher, he has 6th hour available to work on school vehicles and stuff. So all he has to do is stick the nose right in there if he needs to do something. 6th hour, right? Is his
6
DO hour?
hours is his, yes. But I don't know if the nose of a bus will fit,
Well, you can stick it in. The nose will. At least the engine will.
just the,
Yeah. But he's not, and see, we have a guy that does our work out there west of town.
Yeah, I know.
We've got a contract, so why do we?
That's good. But I like David's idea. There's got to be something available.
we've.
Look around.
We look, but I mean,
Yeah,
at some
look.
point in time, something might become available. I think it was my hope anyway, something would have come available.
We can spend
but it
it a
hasn't
year,
been.
we aren't in a hurry. We've got a lot of money to, other projects we need to do.
But I think to that extent, I think this April report will allow us to help
Okay,
budget as well as,
right.
we can look and see what type of savings we're accruing every year on this, though we can even take that money into budgeting for the bus barn. In my opinion, I'd be a proponent of at least, some type of a shelter for them. And of course, that's going to have to also in line with some office space and appropriate office space. And that's the other thing I don't know. I mean, how is things working with the staffing and as far as the employee workflow? Is it something that we need to be in close proximity to the district office? Is it beneficial? Does it matter?
That's really not important to me. I don't know, what you guys have talked about in the past. I know a lot of places, they're not right close to the main office. As much traffic as we have through the DO now, I'm sure Lori would probably like to, have us out there somewhat.
Well, and the ladies in the back were just talking about workload increase for timesheets and those kinds of things we hadn't planned on. It was, what'd they think, about 20%? And we do have a lot of traffic in and out, which is, so.
But you add, so how many employees do you have between the monitors and the bus drivers? About 20, is it? And so that's just 20 more paychecks, 20 more timesheets, 20 more people on our insurance.
23
23.
people, yes.
In and out.
So it's increased the workload
Right.
for the business office.
Now, how many buses do we have to house?
We have 8.
8? And the building was 14 feet tall and the doors were 12?
Oh, we got a long discussion.
I have
Just
all
out
of
of
those.
curiosity.
Seems like it's 14 or 16 or something. Maybe they're 14-foot bay doors, or maybe they're 16-foot bay doors, or.
Whatever they wanted to do, we didn't need that tall because of the height.
Well, I think at this point in time, I don't know that we need to worry about how big the building is. It's
Nah,
kind of a decision whether we're gonna table this or we want to begin to move forward.
I move we table it.
Motion by Roger, table. Did you put a time on that? Until at least after the facilities
Yeah.
committee, right?
Least till May.
We can bring it back at any time, just table it. We can bring it back at any time.
I'll second
I'm
that.
thinking about another year, Lou.
Motion by Roger, second by Lou to table the motion, to table this action until a later date. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, carries 6-0. Moving on, new business 11.0 is accept donations.
Okay, and so our donations are found in your packet.
Page 38.
Page 38. Maybe it's quicker if I just did that, right? Yes, it will. Okay. So here we go. The district office donations for the month of January received a Blue Cross and Blue Shield grant. Mrs. Peak applied for funds for playground shades that came through our office for $100. Garfield PTO restricted donations, spring parent-teacher conference meals, $150 donation there for the month. At Lincoln, there was a donation from PTO for the meals of $175. David and Susan Harold for the clothing closet, $200. Box Tops for Education, which is an unrestricted donation, $202.40. McDonald's had a grant that Tiffany Hicks wrote for pedometers that was valued at $245.59 for a total of $822.99 at Lincoln for the month of January. At Guthridge for January, PTO made the donation for spring parent-teacher conference meals, $150. The middle school, there were no donations received this month. In the high school, there are a number of those. First is an anonymous donation for the Honor Flight Program, $869. Forbes Hoffman Funeral Home made a $100 donation to the Honor Flight Program. Parsons Glass Company made a $50 donation to the Honor Flight Program. Labette Health made a $200 donation to the Honor Flight Program. Beechner Grain made a $200 donation to the Honor Flight Program. Eye Care Associates of Parsons made a $500 donation to the Honor Flight Program. Robert Jerome, USN Retired MCPO, and Sharon Jerome made a $200 donation to the Honor Flight Program. Wood Dula Harry Insurance made a $700 donation to the Honor Flight Program. Parsons Dental Care made a $200 donation to the Honor Flight Program. Murphy's made a $100 donation to the Honor Flight Program. Dr. Bobby and Scott Williams made a $100 donation to the Honor Flight Program. Commercial Bank donated $250 towards the Honor Flight Program. Bowen Pharmacy donated $750 towards the Honor Flight Program. Grandview Products donated $100 to our TSA program. Michelle Smith donated $120 to the Graphic Design Program. Kurt Fries donated $1,073 to the high school football program. Interstate Studio made a donation of $23.07 for Positive Reinforcement Program. Stevens Vending Corporation made a donation of $29.82 for the Positive Reinforcement Program. So totaling at the high school, $5,564.89. So total school district donations for the month of January 2020, $6,787.88. I would recommend that you approve those.
Have a motion to accept the donations?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, Roger, motion, Joanne has a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Carry 6-0. 11.1, action on unpaid meal balances and fees. That's page 39.
Okay, and I'm going to give you an updated sheet, because when your board packet was sent out on Wednesday, there was an updated sheet put in the view on Friday that had some red lettering, but it didn't make it into those view packets. And, well, it did make it in the view packet. These packets were already done. So if you want to take one of those and pass it around, because this was initially the paragraph that was sent. All right, Linda?
We submitted it to the state, and then she came back and told us that we needed to put something in there that said the uncollectible debts could not be covered by federal funds. That last sentence.
Oh, yeah.
So what was in red was those were the revisions that KSDE asked.
But KSDE didn't get it to us soon enough to get it in the board packet.
In the board packet. So we
She
put it in
was
the
out
view.
on a different review.
So do we just eat that?
Well, no, we could, yes. The uncollectible debts.
Yeah.
Do we
But
not
we
turn?
can't take it out of general, we can take it out of general fund, but not
Federal
funds.
funds.
Like Title I or something like that.
But now, but what we'll do then is after we've tried to collect each year 3 different times, once it gets over 100, we could turn it into the set-off program. And so then we would get the money back. Then we wouldn't have to eat it.
But it
Unless-
takes a while for the set-off program
It
because
does.
you have to turn it in. Like if we turn it in right now, then next year when people file their taxes, municipalities, school districts, they'll take it out of their, so if you had a $200 return, you owe the school district $150, then they'd take it, that $150 out.
I see.
And some fees.
So we'd get our money back.
Yes, most of it, we pay the fees for the set-off program. But that is a last resort. We don't do that.
We try not to,
We
right?
try not to. And this year, we've had some donations for unpaid lunch balances.
Do you have a balance of what? It's in arrears now.
It's about $7,000. The thing is, every day it changes because people pay and then people charge and so.
What's our typical year-end balance?
The typical year-end balance, that would be something I'd have to look at because I don't know.
So you're saying uncollectible debts not covered by the Kansas set-off program will be paid for with non-federal district funds and/or donations?
It'll just, we won't have to specify donate, it'll just be, because a donation would be a non-federal district fund, so.
The donation would go into gifts and grants, which was part of our budget, and it could come out of that.
We're on the hook for paying our bills.
We are. And we
On
do.
February 6th, full-price menus that were in $5,600, reduced price $1,000, free kids $579. And the reason there's free is because they charged before they filled out an app. So they were owed money, and then they got approved for free, but that, we have to carry that balance.
And we never get reimbursed for that, right?
Well, sometimes parents will, but
Oh, but the government won't.
No,
even though
the
they-
government does not. They don't say, you qualify for free lunch, well, you've been here 18 days, well, we'll go back because you qualified for 18 days. They don't do
and
that.
sometimes parents don't understand, they really need to fill that form out.
And really, every year at school enrollment.
But Barb does a very good job of calling them and reminding them and sending them new forms and helping them.
I suppose we have staff that also owe.
I wouldn't say that we have, sure we have some, but I don't think we have any.
But we do have some.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
I
But
wasn't meaning they owe the most of it.
Oh, no,
I just
no.
assumed
But
that This
they-
include everybody.
It includes everybody, and they do pay by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because Linda goes around and visits them. And you don't want to get you owe a lunch bill from Linda. you don't want to get that visit. That's not a bad visit, so they do, our staff does, they get those caught up.
Any other discussion on this policy? If not, I'll accept the motion to approve it.
I so do.
Motion by Roger,
Second.
second by David. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign, carries 6-0. 11.2 is discussion of possible action on inclement weather makeup day from February the 5th. What are your wishes, folks?
Yeah,
I've
that's
said this and I'll say it again. Give them up to 3 days. After that, we make them off.
Say that again, I missed it.
Agree.
If we miss up to 3 days, give it. After that, we make them all up, whatever it is.
I think last year we did 2 days and we made up a third.
for professional
Right.
development, I think, yeah. So right now, if we don't make up the February 5th day that we were out, we would still have 1,134.33 hours. And required by the state's 1,116 hours. So even if we don't make that day up, we still are to the good 18.33 hours.
What was our policy on classified staff that don't work on those days?
They're able to use their personal time to cover that.
So they would,
To get
so
paid.
they wouldn't be losing any money?
If they choose to use, if they have personal time available, that they could choose to use it.
Well, I mean, that's my point.
If they haven't burned it.
If they haven't already, yeah.
Well, I'm just making sure that the classified staff knows that we're not.
All right, they need to
trying
know that.
Right, and that we've sent that message out the last 2 times that we've had snow days, that they're able to use their
All right, so
personal
this would be
time.
the second makeup day like we did last year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that
My
our
kids
wishes?
will be proponent of not making it up, so.
Is that your motion?
Sure.
Motion by
On their
I
David,
second.
motion by David, second by Olivia, to not make up today. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, carries 6-0. Okay, we've done 11.3, so we're at 11.4, which is executive session. How much time do we need?
I would, 15 minutes max.
10 minutes? 15 minutes?
5, yeah, 5.
Okay, 10 to 5, 15 minutes. Do we need a break before then?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay, we're taking about a 5-minute break. We're back in here to go to executive session then after the break.
I'm freezing.
It's cold.
Okay, we're back on the air. We need to make a motion to go into executive session. Did I hear that from Roger? Okay, we have a motion from Roger to go into executive session for 15 minutes to discuss non-elected personnel to the exception of coma at 7:45, back here at 8 o'clock with the board and superintendent and assistant superintendent in attendance. I have a motion by Roger. Do we have a second? Did I get a second from somebody?
Second.
Second from Lou. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, carries 6-0. We'll be back in here at 8 o'clock. Turn.
But 5 would be
Okay,
good.
we're going to go have another session of executive session. I believe it was 5 minutes requested by Olivia. That was a motion. That was a motion, right, Olivia? And a second by Roger to go into executive session for 5 minutes under COMA's exception for non-personnel, elected personnel. And that will be at 8:02 and come back in at 8:06. The board superintendent, assistant superintendent. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carries 6-0. 8:06.
something going on in that gym Friday night, and we let them do
Okay,
it.
we're on the air again, folks. Anything else? Okay, we're ready for item 11.5 is action to extend the contracts of our managers and directors. We have recommendation here to,
We do. We have a recommendation for Rick Giefer, Transportation Director, Ben McGuire, the Technology Director, Tanya Phillips, the Business Manager, and James Ramsey, the Maintenance Director. I would recommend that you extend contracts for these district managers and directors for the 2021 school year.
So moved.
motion by David,
Second.
second by Joanne. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carry 6-0. 7.6, action on personnel.
All right, we have recommendations for employment. Bill Baird, middle school boys tennis coach, effective the 1920 season, and Nikki Jones, Lincoln preschool aide, effective February the 4th, 2020. I recommend that you approve these two for employment.
So moved.
Motion by Roger,
Second.
second by David. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carry 6-0. Is your resignation for employment?
Okay, we've got Susan Benson, middle school 8th grade math teacher, effective February the 4th, 2020, and Seth Harrison, maintenance tech, effective January 31st, 2020. I would recommend that you approve those resignations from employment.
I so moved.
Motion by Roger, second by Olivia. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carry 6-0. And we have resignation.
We have one resignation for retirement. Sarah Sun, second grade teacher at Garfield's, resigning, with taking her retirement effective the end of the 1920 school year. So I would recommend that you approve that resignation for retirement. She's earned it.
Bless her heart.
Motion by Olivia, second by Roger. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carry 6-0.
Dismissed.
Board recommendations or questions?
Okay.
Two things. A while back, when Eric Swanson was here, I asked about, he was supposed to go back and talk to the teachers about school redesign. Lori?
Right, I'm listening. I'm writing it down.
Okay, so on Facebook today, I saw where Uniontown is a redesigned school, and they're they're trying to get rid of their standardized testing and go to more adulting classes, which I thought was really a pretty academic idea. So I hope we don't fall behind and not.
Are they actually, I wonder if they're actually in the process of redesign, or if they're just
They are-
applying some of those
They are
redesign
a
principles?
redesigned school, Uniontown is.
Yeah, I read that
So
too.
something,
I read that too.
yeah.
Because a lot of times, we're doing a lot of those redesign principles, because we've, had Adulting Day and done a lot of those things.
Well, I understand, but to be an official redesign school where we can change some
And
of the
right.
the credits, the way we do credits would be a good thing. Secondly, I went to the Youth Crisis Center today, talked to Ernest Moreland and Shelley Davis, and I was asking about Project Alternative. I wish someone could explain what Project Alternative is, who pays for it, how many teachers are over there, who pays for the busing, what do they do for discipline, about the lunches, what kids are eligible. There's a million questions, and Ernest couldn't answer all those questions.
Okay, well, I can answer all of those questions. That's,
Well, then.
do you want me to do it right now? I didn't know it was a question before today. Do you want me to do it right now, or do you want me to prepare it for next month, or
Do-
put it in the View
do it
on
next
Friday?
month.
I can do it in the View next month, or just?
Well, I'd like
in-
to have a discussion, not the view.
Okay, so you may put it on the board agenda for next month. So is that a motion by the board? Is that the majority of the board would like that added to the agenda?
Put it in the view, so then we can have the discussion, because sometimes,
So is that-
it's just
we
good
need
to
action
see
on that, right,
before.
to add it?
so-
No.
No, okay. So you want information on Project Alternative? A little
Yeah,
report?
because there was a little issue about hotlining too that was very unclear.
Okay.
Hotlining.
If there's.
Like a student in need of care?
If there's suspected abuse,
Right.
a teacher has to report it. Who do they report to?
Who does the teacher report to?
Or any staff member, who do they report to? Or do they just automatically hotline to DCF?
Yes.
That's the question,
That's the question you have.
yeah.
Okay.
Because it would be nice if a kid comes in, he's got black and blue marks, well, maybe he fell down. Don't automatically suspect that someone beat him up, or, but on the other hand, you want to be,
We're legally mandated reporters, so if we see something suspicious or hear something suspicious,
So-
it's not our job to investigate, but we do what we are required by law.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
talk to the
turn it over.
principal, talk to the superintendent, the chain of command thing.
Okay, so next month, Project Alternative Information and Update, we can do that.
Okay, sounds good.
Anything else? 8:11, we're adjourned.
Dang.